Welcome to the 2025 K-State Garden Hour webinar series. We are so glad that you are here. This webinar started in 2020 and has been a collaboration of the entire K-State Horticulture Extension team. Since the start of the program, we have reached over 83,000 gardeners just like you. We are pleased to continue offering the K-State Garden Hour series for free. If you have enjoyed these educational webinars, please consider making a tax-deductible donation to support the program. The link to donate can be found in the chat or on our K-State Garden Hour website. This webinar is hosted by K-State Research and Extension. My name is Calla Edwards, and I am the Horticulture Extension Agent for Butler County, based out of El Dorado. Everyone involved in the development of this series is an extension professional for K-State. Most of us have a background in horticulture education or a related discipline, but most of all, we each have a love for educating and sharing important gardening topics. Before we get started, we do have a couple housekeeping notes to cover. Please use the Q&A feature for questions related to the presentation. This is where we will look for questions at the end of the webinar during the Q&A session. You should be able to see a button along the bottom tab that says Q&A. Just click on that and you will be able to enter your question. If you put your questions in the chat, oftentimes they will get lost. Today's webinar is going to be recorded and we will post it to our K-State Garden Hour website. We also typically upload the additional resources that are shared in the chat or related to the topic. Our website is also where you have access to previous topics and upcoming topics in the series. Our moderators today are Abby Drought and Sharon Ashworth. They will be sharing information through the chat during the presentation, and they will help us facilitate the Q&A portion of the webinar. Today's topic is cutting edge efforts in Kansas demo gardens. I'm pleased to introduce our group of speakers today. We have Matthew McKernan, Markis Hill, Jason Graves, Jay Harris, and Mary Mathew. Please give us a few minutes as we transition to our presenters.
All right, I think you should be able to see my screen. So I think we're good to go. Can you see everything? All right, welcome to the K-State Garden Hour. It is going to be at warp speed. Today, we are sharing with you a look at the different demonstration gardens throughout Kansas. And as we share this information, we also highlight the fact that it will be a rapid trip. Our goals today are to describe what demonstration gardens are and what their purposes are. We're going to also talk about ways to identify how they're funded, and then we'll highlight different demonstrations across Kansas in our road trip. And then lastly, we'll talk a little bit about how these gardens really serve as the hub for education, sustainability, and community engagement. All of those are extremely important things. Our road trip today will take us from Hays to central Kansas, to Johnson County, and to Sedgwick County. We'll actually start in Sedgwick when we get going, but that's where our trip will take us today. And I think you'll see a lot of really unique features in the different gardens that are being showcased. Demonstration gardens really are that opportunity to showcase different gardening techniques, different plant types, or even different design concepts. And they are intended to be for educational and even inspirational purposes. And as I like to think about our demonstration gardens, they really are that place for our home gardeners to go to be able to see examples of how to garden effectively, sustainability, and aesthetically. So those are some key things that I think help make a demonstration garden important. Our demonstration gardens are funded entirely by community donations and Master Gardener fundraising efforts. So if you're in a community and you see that a Master Gardener organization is having a plant sale or they're having a public garden tour, that's what the money is used for from those events, to help fund our demonstration gardens, to be able to make them available to the public. Most of our gardens in all of our different areas are open from dawn to dusk. There are a few in the presentation today that showcase an admittance fee. So for example, if you visit one in Johnson County and you go to Deanna Rose, that's where we have a demonstration garden. But most are open from early in the morning to late in the day that you can just go to. But we'll showcase where that isn't the case. Our demonstration gardens are run by our master gardeners in each of our programs, along with our K-State Extension agents. And those two in partnerships work to plan, design, plant, maintain, and showcase the gardens. Demonstration gardens really are a treat for us to have and for everyone to be able to use. The educational purposes are easy to see. They are hands-on learning. It's nice to be able to walk out into one of our demonstration gardens and see what a certain plant looks like and be able to talk with different gardeners about their care and their maintenance. They're also available for tours in different areas. And really, we hope that our demonstration gardens demonstrate the best gardening practices, techniques, and concepts for local needs. We also like to showcase solutions to common gardening problems. I think many of us right now are dealing with Japanese beetles, and so sometimes in our gardens we can showcase how to take care of those. They also showcase diverse plants and crops that are grown utilizing research-based techniques. And so you can see an example on that picture of an All-American Selection display garden that is available. Some gardens are just in the terms of themes, maybe showing in native plants, vegetable gardens. Those are some of the things you'll be able to see today from our agents that are talking about our demonstration gardens on our road trip. Probably the most important thing for me sometimes, it gives me inspiration. I look out in my backyard and I look at that flower bed and I think I'm tired of it. I want something new. I want to plant something different. Or in my garden, I want to try a different vegetable to grow this year. To me, that's what the demonstration garden can do. I can go out, I can take a walk through some of our gardens and see, oh gosh, maybe I should try that. So if you've asked yourself any of those questions, it sounds to me like you're looking for inspiration from a demonstration garden as well. We're going to start first with Matthew. So Matthew, I'm going to turn it over to you and I will mute my audio and let you take off.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary, and welcome everybody to our Sedgwick County Extension demonstration gardens. Again, my name is Matthew McKernan, and I'm an ornamental horticulture agent here in Sedgwick County, which is Wichita, Kansas, and the surrounding communities. On our next slide, you'll be able to see our primary gardens that we're going to talk about today are going to be located around our extension office. Our address for those interested in visiting is 7001 West 21st Street North. And for those of you who are familiar with the Wichita community, that's right at the intersection of 21st Street and Ridge Road on the west side of town. We're connected right into Sedgwick County Park, so there's a lot of hiking and walking opportunities as well as visiting our beautiful demonstration gardens. For those of you that may be a little less familiar with Wichita, we are going to be located on the far west side of town, and we're actually not too far from the zoo. So if you hop off I-235 there at Zoo Boulevard, we're just around the corner from the zoo and welcome visitors anytime. On our property here, we have about 24 acres of ground that's part of our Sedgwick County Extension office. And across those grounds, we really have an opportunity to have really unique and specialized display gardens. We have 12 unique display gardens and an arboretum of over 325 different trees to really showcase to the community and to the state of Kansas what good plant selections can look like for South Central Kansas. Our mission is to really make sure that our grounds serve as an open classroom and a public learning environment for everybody in the community to come and visit from. One of the ways that we do that, and you can see throughout our pictures, is we really strive to make sure all of our plants are well labeled so that if you see a plant that you fall in love with at our demonstration garden, you know what it is, you know what you can look for when you go to the garden centers or nurseries, and then hopefully be just as successful with that plant at home. Here's an overall map of our extension office in case you've never visited. Each one of our 12 gardens is located there with a purple dot on the map. And then across the backside of our property, we have a riparian nature trail. Riparian meaning water's edge, and this area focuses native and invasive plants that naturally grow in our Kansas ecosystem in south central Kansas. And there's, as you can see with the white dots, many different educational signages that highlight those plants as you go for a tour of that area. But the first area I really want to focus on in our demonstration gardens today is our Extension Arboretum. Our Extension Arboretum was founded in 1994 when the building was first established, and over that time we've planted over 325 trees. If we want to go to the next slide, you can see that of those trees, we have 62 different genus of trees and over 275 unique varieties and cultivars planted across our grounds. Really all the way around between the building and the street, you'll be able to find our collection of trees that make up our Extension Arboretum. When we try to pick trees to emphasize and to plant on our ground, there's really two things that we look for. We either look for trees that are well known, that do well in our area and are known to be successful in south central Kansas, or we look for trees that are being tested to see how they perform. Oftentimes there's new varieties and new introductions, and so we want to know if that's a type of tree that should be recommended for the greater community to plant. All of the plants and all of the trees that we grow on our grounds, we grow with minimal water and minimal care. And our rationale for that is that if these plants can grow successfully with minimal water and minimal maintenance, if you take them home, plant them in your own landscape, and give them additional water and additional care, hopefully you'll have even greater success than we do. I definitely understand that you guys are across the state of Kansas and across the country and even a couple of viewers from across the world. And so not everybody's going to be able to jump in their car today and visit our Extension Arboretum, but we do have an innovative way that we're sharing our information from our Arboretum online. If you visit our website, either our sedgwick.ksu.edu/arboretum, or you use that tiny URL there on the screen, both of those will take you to an online interactive map where you can learn more about our Sedgwick County Extension Arboretum. There's going to be all 325 trees listed there, and there's a lot of great features that you can find as a useful tool to navigate our Arboretum and better understand the trees that are growing there. You'll be able to find photos of each tree, up to 15 categories of information about each tree, often collecting the information from our publications and K-State resources right there at your fingertips for that specific tree. You'll also be able to search our Arboretum and be able to hopefully use our Arboretum as a tool to pick the right tree for your future landscape or home. So just to give you a little idea of what that looks like, when you visit our website, this QR code here, this is what you're going to find. It's offered through Google Maps, and each icon there on the map, each one of those colorful dots, is going to indicate one of our trees planted on the ground. On the left-hand side, you'll notice that the trees are going to be grouped according to their mature size. So large shade trees are all grouped together in one group. Medium trees, small trees, and evergreens are all the different sections of trees that you can find on our map. When you click one of those red check marks there on the left side of the screen, you'll be able to turn on and off different size trees. So if you know you're planting under a power line, for example, or don't want an evergreen tree, you can remove those tree options by just unchecking that check mark. Each one of the colors then, as you see in that next screen, is going to represent a different genus of tree on our property. So if you know, for example, that you're looking for a crabapple or an oak or a redbud, all of the oaks are going to be that light purple color. All of the crabapples are going to be that green color. So all of our trees are essentially color-coded by genus. And then the shape of the icon also indicates to you whether it's a deciduous tree that's going to lose its leaves over the winter months, or if it's an evergreen tree that will keep its leaves all winter long. If you click on any of those trees individually, like we have in the desert willow here, you can see along Ridge Road there on the left-hand side of the map. When you click that tree, again, you're going to see pictures of that tree throughout the growing season, what its flowers look like, what its fall color looks like, and you're also going to learn more about that tree, what the bloom time might be, what some of the potential problems with that tree might be, and what noteworthy characteristics make that tree unique. So it's a great way to visit our extension office if you don't have the ability to get in your car and drive today. A few of the trees that I want to highlight from our Arboretum very quickly. Our Texas red oak is a very popular tree that people are really stunned by when they visit. Has beautiful red fall color, as you see in that top picture on the right-hand screen. Our desert willow is also a big piece of conversation during the summer months. It blooms continuously throughout the heat of the summer with the flowers that you see pictured there on the right. The slender silhouette sweet gum tree is kind of a unique one. It's a columnar sweet gum tree, so great for screening or narrow places. And then another one that's attached to our nature trail is our Warren's Red Possum Holly. Really is covered in red berries all throughout the winter months and into the early fall. And so it's a great way to get really dramatic fall color and winter interest from the berries, as you can see in that bottom picture. Another one of the gardens that I want to highlight on our grounds is our demonstration garden. This is primarily our food crop demonstration garden, where we're going to primarily show people what fruits and vegetables residents can grow in our area. They're also going to be able to see different growing practices and different ways to successfully grow a vegetable and fruit garden. And all over the garden, you're going to be able to find different ways to garden, even down to the materials that the raised beds are constructed with. We try to demonstrate different ways that you can garden successfully. And so, as an example, each one of those beds is going to be made of a different construction material that you could commonly find to build a successful raised bed garden. If you take a look here, this is what our garden looks like this week. And each one of those beds has a unique planting theme that changes out each year. So what you're going to be able to see is on our list here is the wide variety of bed themes that we have this year. We've got some fun garden themes this year. We're doing a 21st century victory garden where we are using updated varieties of classic victory garden plants. We've got a Mexican vegetable garden, a plants to die for garden, which is actually leaves, roots, and flowers that are used for dyeing plants. We always have a bed that's totally tomatoes that showcases indeterminate and determinate varieties. And then bed 5 this year is actually looking at new and interesting varieties of plants, things that are either claimed to be drought tolerant, enhanced flavor, new colors, or really a distinctive variety. We also have several fruit beds, including blueberries, peaches, figs, as well as a bed of currants and gooseberries. A couple of the successful plants that we've grown in our demonstration garden the past few years that we think the community can really have great success with is the red deuce tomato. We also have great success with the Trombosina summer squash, the candy cane chocolate pepper, which is a sweet pepper rather than a hot pepper. The snow white bok choy has also produced very well for us, as well as the rise and shine summer squash. As I mentioned, we also have very successful gardening techniques that we encourage, like trellising, as you can see in the cattle panel picture there on the right. We also use drip irrigation, straw as mulch, and use cover crops throughout the growing season as well. The last place I'd like to highlight on our grounds, well, and if you'd like to learn more about our demonstration garden, again, you can visit our demonstration garden blog to learn more about all of those themes in each garden. Lastly, our annual flower trial is outside of our demonstration garden, and this garden really focuses on new varieties of annual flowers. So what this shows is these pots are new varieties of annual flowers being introduced into the market next year, so you can see them before you can buy them. And ideally what we're trying to do is grow plants under identical growing conditions and evaluating their vigor and their growth. So as you can see in this next picture, we take a plant like a verbena, we look at 2 of the newest varieties out there, and we compare how their flowers perform, how they grow, and which one of these is going to be maybe a better choice for your Kansas landscape the following year. We've got a couple of fun options here that we're trialing this year. One of the ones I'm most excited about is the Begonia Surefire Cascade Red. This is a new variety of begonia that's supposed to be trailing rather than upright. So that's what we're testing it to see. Can it handle the heat? Can it handle the drought? And does it grow like it should? And lastly here, next slide is just a few of our successful annuals that we've trialed in the years past. Probably some things that you haven't heard of, but things that have grown very well in the heat and drought conditions of our summers here in Sedgwick County. If you would like to visit these or any of our other Sedgwick County Extension demonstration gardens around the county, we have several that you can choose from. But right now it's time to get in the car and head on up to Hayes, and I'll turn it over to Jay to take the lead on the next portion of the presentation.
Thanks, Matthew. So in Hayes, I'm with the Cottonwood Extension District, which is Barton and Ellis counties. And I'm going to highlight a couple of the gardens that we have here that we work with. First off, in Hayes, we have our Water Smart Perennial Demonstration Garden. They began the planning for this in the late winter of 2019. There was an existing garden here, but it had to be removed due to construction on the building. So then that was planted in the spring of 2019. We also do this in conjunction with the city of Hayes, just to demonstrate to people that live here, how to be water smart and eliminate some of the watering that's required. So this demonstration garden actually, it's at our office here at 601 Main Street, and it's divided into 3 different groups, kind of divided out by different sidewalks. The picture on your left there even has some annual flowers in it, just to highlight some of the different annual flowers that work here as well. The middle section of that has some red cedars, plus larkspurs, some different things that we're looking at. And then the far east end is the majority of that garden and has the most of the plants in it. You can also see on that, like Matthew had said too, that everything is labeled. And then the other thing that we have on a lot of the plants would be a QR code, so that if you like what you're doing there, you can scan that QR code and get more information on that plant. So the purpose of this garden is to showcase those plants that are sustainable in a drought tolerant area. It's an educational resource for the public. And again, it's those attractive, low maintenance plants that we need. One thing that you will notice by looking at where that plant or where this garden is located, we also want to encourage that water conservation. We have some visual examples for the homeowners and landscapers. We want to teach those sustainable garden techniques. And then with that signage that I was talking about, you can learn what's there. Plus, then we also have some tours that we do at this site as well. So one other thing that you'll notice there, like I said, everything is labeled. We usually have some type of flyers out there that people can stop by and pick up if they're not able to use the QR codes, those type of things as well. One other thing that we do in this garden, like I said, where it's located, it's right along a street between the building and a sidewalk. And though it is a water smart perennial garden, we have found the need to water this at times. The biggest reason, again, is because of that location. So the other thing that we demonstrate at this garden is rain barrels. So you can see the picture there, the rain barrel on the left has a 500-gallon capacity. The goal is to mainly use water from that anytime that's being watered, and only supplement that occasionally using city water. In 2024, we installed a water meter on that. We used 2,066 gallons from that rain barrel and only had to use 42 gallons of city water. So it really shows the benefit of using those rain barrels. One thing about this, our building is quite large, so it only takes about 10 hundredths to 15 hundredths of rain to fill that 500-gallon capacity barrel. So it doesn't take a lot of rain, but we fill that up and use it quite often. The other garden that I want to highlight here in Hayes is our heirloom garden that's located at the Fort Hayes Historical Site. It's probably one of the most cherished projects, and it's been going on for more than 15 years. This is a collaboration between our Extension Master Gardeners and the Fort Hayes State Historic Site. And what's really neat here is it shows what type of plants that an officer might have in their garden, during the active years of that fort in the late 1800s. There were also other gardens that were located on the other side of Big Creek. If you've ever been to Hayes, Big Creek is very close to the fort. And some of these other gardens were more for the enlisted men. So we have a couple pictures here next that show. The one on the left is when this garden was first started 15 plus years ago. This is not a picture from when it was an active fort because it's in color. But then one on the right is a picture taken last year. You can see, a fence has been added, growing some different crops throughout there as well. one thing with that, they kind of divide that garden into a spring planting and summer planting, so you're going to get some different things. And then they always try to plant heirloom varieties here, so the type of plants that would have been grown again when the fort was active. And so that site is located, there's the address on that off of the Highway 283 bypass. So what I mentioned here, so that the fort was operational from 1867 to 1889. So that's the type of vegetables that they're growing there. These gardens were very vital. It provided the fort some fresh produce, gave them some better nutrition, and then also some leisure, something for them to do. And that helped prevent disease and help the health of the soldiers as well. So the other thing that's really neat that they do, any of the squash and pumpkins that are grown there, they decorate the officers' quarters in the falls with that. So when people are there for a tour, they can see how that they were decorating things at that time. So a couple more pictures demonstrating. The one on the left kind of shows that spring versus summer planting, and then the one on the right just with the squash and pumpkins like I had mentioned earlier. So some of the other gardens that we have in our district in Barton County, we have the Washington School. That was started 7 years ago as a tomato and pepper variety trial. Alburns Field is baseball field there. They also maintain the Veterans Park and tennis courts, Jack Kilby Square where the courthouse is located, and then a garden at Barton County Library, Great Bend Library, one on the east side and one on the west. And then at the Golden Belt Community Foundation, they plant some pots every year, some annual flowers. In Ellis County, we have the backyard garden, again, divided between a spring and a summer garden. Iris bed where they harvest irises, and we'll have a sale from that every year. And right near that iris bed is a perennial and a pollinator garden. We also do the vegetable trial garden in Ellis County. And then we work with a couple of different schools, and this year the O'Laughlin School moved their garden out to where we have the vegetable trial garden, and that is all done through raised beds. So those are all the different sites in the Cottonwood District. You can go to our website, and if you have any questions, I'm going to turn things on over to Jason, and he can take off in the Central Kansas part.
Okay, excellent. Well, welcome to Central Kansas District, and we're right here in the middle of the state, as you can see highlighted here, Saline and Ottawa County. So we do have gardening endeavors going on in both counties. We're going to highlight our demonstration garden today in Salina, Kansas, and a community garden we have at the food bank. So our Central Kansas District demonstration garden really has been around for a good number of years. Since 1997 is when work was begun on this gardening area. And so over these many years, there's been many changes. As of course, Mary mentioned, gardens change. We like to try new things, but currently we've got 15 different garden areas within our demonstration garden. You can see listed here everything from we call a buffalo grass garden and zoysia grass, all the way to annual flowers. And you'll see, so we like to highlight a little bit of everything as is a demonstration garden's purpose, to inspire and to just share ideas, possibilities with our those who visit us at the garden. And so in the next slide, we're going to look at just taking a quick walk through it here. So hopefully our video will work and we'll talk through. Our garden is a pretty long and narrow garden. This we have a berm garden on the east end, and as you walk through, you'll see we have turf demonstration areas, both zoysia grass, fescue, and buffalo grass. And within those areas, the plants kind of coincide and match with that turf area. We also have a site garden, some vines and topiary. We have a cottage garden in the center of the garden. We have herbs. We have a succulent gardening area. We have a butterfly garden, which we're approaching right now. And then at the far west end of our garden, we've got a nice vegetable garden demonstration area and a large native plant garden where we like to showcase and highlight a lot of those native plants that are very resilient here in Kansas for our environment. And so, yeah, we really try to showcase a lot of different styles of gardening methods. And so that is our vision and mission. We make, of course, keep the plants labeled. We use QR codes. We use tours. We partner with our local library to bring folks through. So there's a number of ways we encourage people to interact with our local garden. The next few pictures here are just a little bit more to see maybe a close-up of a couple of different gardens here. The main overarching map here shows kind of what I was highlighting with the turf areas in our garden. One of the things this garden was designed to do was also demonstrate turf, because we know a lot of homeowners are looking for turf in their landscapes. And so what we want to see is obviously the warm season turf grasses are better in heat and drought and some of the things we face here in central Kansas. So we are demonstrating buffalo grass, zoysia grass, as well as fescue. And so the gardening areas that are associated with those turf grasses are designed to showcase plants that match well with those turf types. So we're highlighting native plants and xeric plants with our buffalo garden. And with our fescue garden, we're highlighting plants that may have slightly higher moisture requirements. So that just gives you a little overview of what our site looks like. You can see in the next picture here, when the garden was developed, it was developed with those turf pathways in mind, just so that we had the ability to demonstrate turf grasses in with our plantings. The next slide will show you our cottage garden area around our gazebo. Just a few shots from inside the garden here as we meander through. We also like these styles of gardening are fun to showcase. We do a lot of annuals as well. The next slide will showcase some of the annual trial flowers we've had in cases. Makes for great photo opportunities. A lot of folks like to come to demonstration gardens for that reason. Great place to take photographs, right? So we do that ourselves. The next slide will show our buffalo grass garden. And so the buffalo grass pathway with the plants that match that style of gardening, yarrow and salvia and a number of other xeric water-wise plants. So our the next area, it shows a little closer photo of the vegetable trial area that we utilize in the demonstration garden. So these, again, demonstrating ways to grow vegetables and also taking the opportunity to donate those vegetables to our local food bank. You'll notice a lot of demonstration gardens do that as well. And so it's a fun, we have a deer issue even in the middle of town. So this fence was designed with that in mind to try and minimize deer problems. And it has worked pretty well for us. So the last part of this garden we're going to highlight is just the biodiversity and native plants, because we're finding a lot of folks are really interested in this topic. Resilient plants that create life. Specifically, monarch butterflies has been a big interest for a lot of gardeners in our area. And that's something we want to capitalize on. And so the next picture just shows our native planting that we've been developing over the last 3 to 4 years. So, a native garden often changes with the seasons. So in the spring here, this is a spring photo from this spring where we're seeing the golden Alexander and the columbine and the spiderwort. A lot of our spring bloomers really just putting on a show. So it's fun to revisit these gardens and see how they changed. The next photo will highlight a few of the summer blooms that we're encountering now. So this was just a week or two ago where we're getting a lot of the common milkweed, purple poppy mallow, coneflowers, a lot of things coming into bloom. One of the things we're working on in this garden is monarch conservation. We want to be a part of that. A lot of gardeners are getting really concerned with the declines in monarch butterflies. And so you'll see what we're doing with our milkweed, which is interesting. We get questions about this. Why are you letting your milkweed just kind of go crazy here, or kind of spread out like it's doing? So the circle on the next slide will kind of highlight how we're allowing our milkweed to grow, and there is a purpose behind this, believe it or not. We are into monarch conservation, and so there's a lot of research that was done University of Kentucky back in 2018 that showcased how important it is to make our milkweed visible for the monarchs. They search with visual cues. And so as we're allowing that milkweed, that common milkweed, to spread out a little closer to the edge of the garden, it's becoming more visible and more accessible to those monarchs. And so really the next slide really highlights just that idea. And this was what some of the research back in 2018 has demonstrated, is that if we can structure our monarch way stations and gardens just slightly differently, bringing that milkweed out to the edge, we can have a lot more success attracting egg-laying monarchs to it. And so we don't want to necessarily hide our milkweed and mix it in as much as maybe we thought we should. And so the next slide, if you're interested in this research, visit planthealthexchange.org and search for the monarch butterfly content. There's a nice webinar that summarizes all that information. But one of the key points is that gardens with those perimeter milkweeds planted on the edge of the garden instead of hidden actually supported up to 4 times more monarchs, just because the monarchs were visually able to find those milkweeds more effectively. So that's something we want to demonstrate. We want to encourage our local gardeners to be doing, is getting more monarch conservation going as we encourage and interact with those folks in the garden. So it gives us a good talking opportunity, and we're having success. You can see in this picture, it looks a little odd. It's not like it's not as aesthetically pleasing to let your tall milkweed grow on the edge of the garden. It doesn't necessarily aesthetically go with some of the ways we normally design beds, but in this planting, it makes sense. And so we're getting those monarch larvae that we want to see, and it's just a fantastic opportunity to educate those who visit our gardens. So now you can also use the short milkweeds, butterfly weed. There's a number of milkweeds that we also demonstrate for, those gardeners that can't do the big common milkweed that spreads, that need something a little smaller as well. So, all this work has really led to a plant list that we developed for biodiversity as our volunteers have become interested in this. And so we did actually some of this interest has allowed us to pass out, a plant list based on biodiversity to people that come through when we do tours and things, to encourage them to plant for biodiversity. So just some fun things as a result of some of this native plant gardening. The second garden we're going to highlight here is our Salina Emergency Aid Food Bank. And so this is a vegetable garden. And so the intention with this garden, we got our volunteers involved with us to do vegetable trials, but there's an awful lot more going on with this garden. We wanted to really focus on accessibility. And when the garden was developed and designed, it was designed with that in mind, with handicapped accessible gardening. And you can see the way we have the beds designed with nice wide concrete pathways. We're inviting a lot more accessibility through the raised bed style gardening with drip irrigation. We have a community garden. We have a handicap accessible garden. We have a children's garden. And we have a number of different ways of utilizing this garden to also support the food bank. So the next slide kind of highlights just the idea of the connection and accessibility. We've been fortunate to get our garden connected with the city fall and spring work days, where we get a lot of volunteers to come out and help us stain beds and clean up and pull weeds. We do a number of events each year to try and engage gardeners, an open house on the site during the summer. So, just doing everything we can to promote not only education and accessibility in gardening, but also just to promote food for the food bank and those donations that they need of fresh produce. So really the next slide then just showcasing some of the trial beds that our master gardeners participate in. We have the plants labeled, and we do those trials in the beds each year. Typically that includes peppers, tomatoes, squash, And more recently, we've been doing some things with cabbage to try and increase our spring crops. So the next, there's one more picture here that kind of shows another angle, just so you can see kind of the work that goes into those beds. And they are very productive. We've been able to create a good soil mix in these. That's been very productive for us. So it's been an enjoyable experience. The trials we participate in, we do get the data from that, so we get a lot of educational opportunity here. And you can see some of the results we had from 2024 with some various tomato varieties that did quite well throughout the trial last year. So the work is hard and rewarding all at the same time. I will say, when you get to harvesting produce, that is that's the hardest time of the year for us, because you really have to be out there almost every day or every other day. Volunteers we try not to let anything go to waste, and that's one of the biggest challenges at times, is to get those produce harvested and into the food bank. All the trial produce that is grown is donated directly to the food bank and handed out immediately. And so it makes a fantastic just effort when everyone works together. We've been able to generate about 3,000 pounds of produce out of this garden the last since 2020, when it was developed. So it's been a real good boost, and you can see some of the various produce harvesting and donation that our volunteers do. So it's a fantastic effort, and we're really proud of the way they have done this and continue to help us maintain this garden. So the standout, there are a few standout varieties that I put up on the next slide as far as tomatoes. So these may be some varieties that you might be interested in trying in your own garden, but these are varieties that we have had good success with over the years, these last 3 to 4 years, as we've trialed different varieties. So a number of options there: indeterminate, determinate plants, and even some, just various options for gardeners. And so you may find something there to try. Really, the last slide here before we move east again to Markis would be just to highlight a few of the other projects we have. We have gardens through, like I mentioned, throughout our district. Up in Ottawa County at the Bennington Community Garden, we have some other community gardens here in Salina, and projects that our volunteers work on. So didn't want to miss the chance to highlight and thank those volunteers for their work as well. So without further ado, we're heading east on the road again.
All right, I'm Markis Hill, the horticulture extension agent for ornamentals and turf in Johnson County. And then I'm here to highlight some of the demonstration gardens in the metro area. This picture is of our K-State demonstration garden at the Overland Park Arboretum. It is titled the Monet Garden, and it's supposed to replicate the gardens that Monet had in France. So let's go on to another one. Okay, so we're going to start off in the Shawnee Indian Mission, located in Fairway, Kansas. It is a national historical site. It was a Native American trade school in the pre-Civil War era. And during the Civil War, with the war going on between North and the South, Kansas City saw a lot of that fighting, and this was a Civil War encampment site. But today it is a museum, several different buildings, and we have 4 garden areas around these buildings. The first one is that we'll talk about is the vegetable garden. And so we grow heirloom varieties of vegetables that were available to the school during the time of its opening. And the volunteers really tried to source those seeds that are those historically accurate varieties. And out of this garden last year, we were able to donate 391 pounds of produce to local food pantries and charities. Our next garden area, instead of, in contrast to our friends out in west of here, we actually do get rain, and we are focused on water quality, not necessarily water conservation. So this highlights an aspect that many of our gardens have, which is a rain garden. And this is a buffer area for all of the runoff that comes from roads, sidewalks, building, rooftops. And it filters the water in a natural way before it reaches our streams and rivers. This one is composed of native plants that support our native wildlife around here. And then our next one, we do have a native garden. Just like Jason said, people are very interested in the native plants and want to support native wildlife. And so we have a native garden that offers habitat, pollen, and nectar, and also just a host plant. We have our swamp milkweed of a bumblebee on the top. That is downy skullcap on the left, and that is common milkweed with some monarch caterpillars on the right there. And then our last garden we have is the herb garden. And this is basically showcasing some plants that are used for flavoring food, used as medicines or perfumes. And some of these plants do act as host plants for local pollinators, specifically the parsley and amongst others. And I would just like to point out that none of these gardens are possible without our 546 volunteers we have here in Johnson County. And here's a small group of them here getting ready to start their day. So the next garden we're going to talk about is the Dennis Patton Garden Gallery, located here at the Sunset office in Olathe, Kansas. And this purpose of this garden is to showcase plants that do exceptionally well in the KC metro area. So all sorts of trees, shrubs, evergreens, annual flowers, perennial flowers, temperennials, potted crops, all sorts of stuff. And then we have a lot of design techniques that we use with the various plant materials. And I'd like to point out that you have to start from scratch with a lot of these demonstration gardens, and this one was no different. This used to be a parking spot for all the heavy machinery that was used for building this Sunset government building, and that is the start of the paths that were laid out along with the retaining walls on the left. And then this is a more updated picture. It's not the most updated picture, but it does showcase how it changed over time, and we filled it up with plant material, and it's unrecognizable from when it started. So the motto of the garden is tried and true, and sometimes something new. So we have 12 areas of in this garden. We have areas A through G, but we also have a butterfly garden, a cottage garden, a rain garden, and a creekside bed in a native garden. And you can sort of see how it's laid out here, right next to the government building. Next, okay. So then we use this primarily as a teaching garden, and to showcase basically just all those plant materials that I said before that do well around here, what they're going to look like at a mature size, and as well as some that are just widely available in our area. We do have a composting demonstration area that a lot of our employees at this government building contribute to. And so we have one that is active, we have the one that is resting, and we have one that is finished. And we sort of showcase that to with signage of how to properly manage your composting area. We are this garden is highly requested for tours. Just because we're just so close to the extension office. A lot of people just love to come by, and it's almost hidden. So anytime that they can get a tour of this beautiful garden, they ask for it. We do have a lot of hardscaping structures. We demonstrate how to use them properly, or just any sort of inspiration. Whether it's brick edging or rock edging, like using giant rocks. We do have a couple arbors, as well as bird baths, and we even have a bridge that goes over our creekside bed. And so our next garden that I'm going to talk about is the backyard garden. It is located at our Olathe Horticulture Research and Extension Center, next to just south of DeSoto. if you guys are familiar with the Panasonic plant that's being built on the sunflower ammunition plant, we're just south of that. The tours are given by appointment only. There's 2 gates that you have to get past to actually make it to the garden. We do take requests for tours. And the purpose of this garden is to demonstrate current home gardening practices and techniques that can be replicated in your home landscape. We have 2 separate areas. The first one being the OG vegetable garden and expanded area, and the second one being the native incorporation area. Next slide. Okay, so this is the overhead view of the OG backyard garden. It actually started out as that interior square in the middle there, because of the popularity of this garden and just the hard work of our volunteers, we were able to expand that and create a deer fence that goes around the outside of it to keep the deer out, because it is not in the urban area at all. It's out in there in the sticks. And so we have many vegetable gardens in this area. We do have an All-American Selection garden specific to All-American Selects. We have several pollinator areas, and a lot of that plant material came from the Prairie Star plant trials that used to take place at the Olathe Horticulture Research and Extension area. And then we have an herb garden, a cut flower garden, in which we do make small arrangements that go along with our vegetable donations. So not only do we donate vegetables from this garden, but we do donate small bouquets. We do have an orchard along with an urban orchard, which an urban orchard is densely planted fruit trees. That's the purpose behind that. And then we do have espalier fruit trees as well. There's a couple grapevines, and then there is a berry area there on the right. And then last year, we donated 6,039 pounds of produce to our local food pantries and local charities. Very proud of that. And this is one of our highly productive gardens. And then our next area is the native plant area. And the purpose of this area is to show how you can incorporate native plants into a landscape, maybe with your standard ornamentals and perennials. And it's the main focus is for it to be HOA friendly. We do have a lot of suburban areas in Johnson County, and this sort of fits one of our local needs of just how to make your HOA okay with planting native plants that support our native wildlife. And yes, so we do have 9 gardens in Johnson County. They can sort of be found on our website, our K-State, our Johnson County K-State demonstration garden page. And I would highly recommend that you check that out. And if you are close, try to visit some of these gardens. All of them are wonderful. All of them are lovely, and are taken care of by thousands of hours of volunteer time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all for that amazing tour of the Kansas Demonstration Gardens. We do have a couple questions in the box, but I do wanted to ask you all sort of as a group to chime in. Are there other uses for these demonstration gardens? You talked a lot about how they're educational, good demonstration of what can grow in Kansas. But we also find that people really like these spaces for rest and relaxation. We also have school groups come in and kids doing nature walks. Can you describe some of those activities?
Yeah, like I had mentioned, we do get a lot of groups or a lot of local folks that want to come and take pictures, eat lunch. They just want to sit during their lunch break and just enjoy the garden. I mean, like you said, using the garden for just restorative reasons, right? And that's a huge reason we all garden. And so we've even had some small requests for little small weddings to happen, things like that. So, highly valued resource in the community. Lots of ways demonstration gardens can impact well-being. Yeah.
Yeah, we have lots of PEO groups and different garden clubs that want to come take tours of the different gardens. I do think you're right when you say it's that sense of joy and being out there, and just being able to see the work that has been put into these demonstration gardens that really gives people something to think about. So
We like to utilize our gardens too, when they have art walks in downtown Hayes. We will have our perennial garden highlighted, and just other ways for people that are looking at art downtown. They also come by and look at what they can do in their yard for art as well.
Yes, these are all just beautiful spaces to come in and just sit. We often have people just come on their lunch break and just hang out in a place. It's hard to find open spaces, open, beautiful spaces that are open to the public, and these are available for everyone. So I do have a couple quick questions here. Somebody wants to know how to volunteer as a master gardener, particularly for Johnson County, but this could go for many of us. Does anybody want to speak to that?
we are we're accepting applications. They were due at they were due by the 1st of July. So you've maybe just missed for this year. But I know others probably maybe you're still open with your applications. Ours, when we have so many that want to volunteer, it makes it hard to not do it early. So.
Yep. And so what I would add that if you're interested in joining the Master Gardener program, it's going to be best to reach out to your local extension office. Right now, the majority of extension offices are preparing for and thinking about getting started for a new round of Master Gardener training this fall. And so those deadlines are going to range throughout the summer months, depending on where you are. Also, just want to add that these are only 4 of the demonstration gardens that you can see, or 4 of the counties you can see demonstration gardens in. Just like the Master Gardener program varies around the state of Kansas, there's also a wide variety of demonstration gardens across the state. So if you're not familiar with the extension demonstration gardens in your particular county, would also encourage you to give your local extension office a call, because we've got them around the state in Hutchinson and Lawrence and Newton and all over the place. And so it's really not just these 4 demonstration gardens that are in Kansas, that are across the state, and really a crown jewel of some of the work that we do as extension services.
I had a pretty great map we could have shared where they could have seen, but there are so many, it just gets all muddled. There were so many that were popping up. So there are lots of great places to visit. That road trip would be a good one.
Yes, do visit our websites, the individual extension office websites, and they'll have information on that. A couple quick, very specific questions. Someone wants to know when the next garden tour is at the 135th Street, Markis.
135th Street.
Yeah, that demonstration garden. You mentioned
BYG.
tours.
The 20th anniversary. We're having a celebration. The 6th of September. But if you are looking for a tour before then or after then, just reach out to the extension office and we can maybe set that up. I don't know if they're planning on having a big old field day out at the Olathe Research Extension Center or not.
That is
But if there is,
August.
They are, but I think the announcement hasn't been made quite yet. So stay tuned on our website and you'll see a
Yes.
really great promo for it. It'll be a fun day.
It's
And
scheduled
I
for
don't know
August
who
25th.
mentioned this, but the question, oh, sorry.
Sorry, this is Manreed. The OREC field day is
Oh.
scheduled for August 25th at 4 p.m.
okay, thank you.
Someone mentioned a soil mix that resulted in great yields. I was answering a question when that was mentioned. Can somebody speak to what this great soil mix is?
I mentioned that with our
Okay.
food bank vegetables. Yeah, no, we did have we've kind of gone with a 3-way mixture of compost, topsoil, actually 4-way mixture of compost, topsoil, coarse sand, and bark chips. And so It's a really well draining soil mix that still can retain moisture, but we do have drip irrigation, so we're regularly watering. But yeah, we have had some fantastic results, ensuring that well draining mix like that. Typically, we recommend about a half for a typical backyard mixture. It can be just half compost, half topsoil, an even mixture works just fine. Yeah.
Great, thank you all. That's all we have time for. I'm going to turn it back over to our host, Calla Edwards.
All right, what a wonderful presentation and a great tour of the state of the different demonstration gardens and work that's being done in different locations. We hope that the resources shared in the chat were helpful to you. Additional resources will also be shared on the website tomorrow. If you need information or would like to join the Master Gardener program, please be sure and contact your local K-State Extension office. Once again, thank you for joining our K-State Garden Hour series hosted by K-State Research and Extension. We're glad you could join us today to learn about cutting-edge demonstration gardens across the state. You can visit the K-State Garden Hour website to view our recorded Garden Hour archive or to make a tax-deductible donation to support the continuation of this webinar series. This session was recorded and will be posted to the website by tomorrow afternoon. After the webinar ends today, you will receive a survey to evaluate the presentation. Please fill this out as we greatly appreciate your feedback. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us at gardenhour@ksu.edu. Thank you again. We hope you'll tune in each month. Have a great week and a happy 4th of July.